I dream of bunkers. Some may think that's slightly embarrassing to admit, and it is slightly embarrassing to admit, but thankfully not many people are going to see this video, so I'd say I'm fine. Today, I dreamt of a bunker, and I want to build said bunker. This is going to be my dream bunker in Minecraft. It's going to have everything I've ever wanted, and I can't wait to construct it. Hidden staircase. You may have noticed this slightly dirty strip in our otherwise very green jungle here. This is where I want to build the hidden staircase that is going to take us down underground. Now this is going to be a proper hidden staircase, so it's actually going to have stairs in it, which makes it slightly more complicated than if I was to just jump down some blocks. But it is significantly cooler, even if it is much harder to build. Now I'm a little bit concerned because the last time I built one of these things, it was like probably around about 7 or 8 years ago, and I'm worried the design that I did back then is going to be better than the one that I'm doing now, despite having all sorts of new fancy redstone components to play with. This might just be the biggest block swapper that's ever existed, but it seems to be working, so that's a positive. So that's my first stair, all done and dusted. Now we just need to work on this one, which I think I might have done through the use of locking repeaters, which is not something that I use particularly very often. But that's allowed me to create the pulse extender, which allows our block swap to happen without the piston extending in the way. So now I just have this little section left to do, which is driving me mildly insane, I have to say. But after a little bit of creative problem solving down here, everything now all seems to be working. And I now have myself a fully functional hidden staircase, and this thing is incredibly satisfying. To be honest, the main reason why I worked on this bunker today is because I wanted to design one of these hidden staircases. It's been way too long, and they're just really fun, enjoyable redstone projects. But currently I don't have any secret way to actually activate this thing, so I think what I'm going to do is just have a redstone torch key over here on this tree. That's always a pretty simple way of doing things, and that all seems to be working now. And with a small amount of redstone, everything should now all be connected. Yeah, I love this. Okay, so let's move on to the rest of the bunker. Mustache detector. If this first piece of security wasn't enough, I feel like we need an extra piece of security to add into our system. A machine that detects our fancy mustache. Here is our mustache detector, and everything seems to be working well. Now I know what you're thinking. What happens if I go into this and I don't have a mustache? Yeah, I'm not really sure, and I'm not really willing to shave off my mustache to see what would happen. So for now, we're just going to say it works really nicely. Time to connect it to a door. And there's a bit of a unique challenge with this one in that our roof is right here, which means I can't really do any redstone above the door. So that means everything needs to either open from the sides or from underneath, and I can't decide which one I think is cooler right now. But then I thought of this kind of weird setup with the honey blocks and the slime blocks like intersecting with one another. Almost like a MI5 vault. And as soon as the word vault got involved, I knew this one was the winner. The added bonus is that the redstone itself should be really quite simple. It's just a pair of double piston extenders on each side that I'm now connecting up. And now if I give this thing a quick tester, everything is all closed. And everything is all open. I mean, that is really quite cool. That's very fun. So now I'm going to hook this up to our mustache detector, make it so our mustache detector also closes up our hidden staircase behind us, and then give all of these an input on the other side so that I can actually get out of our bunker, which should all be nice and easy, which with the use of some very, very messy redstone, it was quite easy. So now let's start on the bunker itself. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing, but I think I quite like it. These new mud bricks, I think they're called, mud bricks, are an interesting block. But I really like the way that they go with like the dark prismarine. This is my first time playing around with them, and I really like the vibe of this being like an underground, sort of dirty, grassy, fungusy bunker. Not the sort of words that I expected to be saying on my dream bunker video, but hey, I'm liking the dirty, grimy, fungusy vibe. I'm already struggling not to constantly sneeze today, but this room is definitely making me extra want to sneeze. I think it's all the particles floating about. But I really like the effect they give, and I really, really like the way this room has come together. This is super cool. This is very different from what I expected to build, but it's far cooler than what I expected to build. And this is just room number 1. There's going to be more of them. This room is going to be for my storage system, which is going to be going in this gap here, and then also like a little bedroom area, which is going to be going up there. So let's do the storage system. But first, now that I've decorated this area, I'm really not happy with this area. But after a little bit of tweaking, I think this is significantly better than the jungle wood that we had before. So now let's actually build the storage system. But this isn't going to be any old storage system. This is going to be a rotating storage system. You see, I've installed carpet in this world, so that means that I now have movable tile entities, which is exactly as the game should be. It's 2022, almost 2023. How do we not have this in the Java edition yet? So I'm going to have 4 segments to this storage system every single time I hit the button. One of the other segments is going to be brought around. So that means that in this 3 block high space, we actually have a 12 block high area of chests because of the rotations, which I think we can all agree is pretty sweet. So all of the redstone lines are in place for our piston feed tape. These yellow ones are going to fire first, followed by these blue ones 2 ticks later. This is looking very, very nice indeed. And now I have this little circuit which gives me 3 pulses every single time I press this wooden button, which is enough for one segment to be moved out the way and a new segment to come into place. So with that now connected into our circuit, everything should now all be working. So I've got my diamonds, I've got my emeralds for villager trading and things, and then I've got my redstone supplies. This is like the valuables section of my storage system. Then when I hit this button, everything gets rotated out, and now I've got my dirt and grassy blocks, I've got my wood blocks, and I've got my stone building blocks. Hit the button again. I've got all of my nether supplies, I've got ocean related things, and then I have all of the farming related things, and then finally I've got my concrete, I've got all of my coloured wool blocks for building redstone contraptions, and then I have ocean monument related things as well. That is quite a lot of storage in a really small space, and I think we can all agree it's very satisfying to use. Right, now let's quickly build up a bedroom, and that'll be this room done. What is wrong with me? I really want to live in a dirty, fungusy bedroom now. This looks so cozy. I mean, I feel like I'd never be able to breathe again. My lungs would be full of spores, but I think that's worth it. Look at this place, it's lovely. Let's move on before I try climbing into my computer. The next area that I want to build is a little villager trading zone, but the issue is villagers are incredibly noisy. If anyone was walking above our bunker, they'd definitely be able to hear all of the So my plan of action is I'm going to drop the villagers down way underground and then pull them up when we want to use them. So this is the area that I've constructed. Originally I was going to make this a completely separate room, but I really like this room and I just wanted to expand off of it. So there's a few little bits of decoration that I need to do quickly just to finish everything off, which... yeah, I mean, this is looking really, really nice. Really nice. Now, the way that I'm going to be moving our villagers up and down is I'm going to use a water stream that can be dispensed and then also undispensed? Indispensed? Honestly, I have no clue. It can be sucked back into the dispensers, removing all of the water, allowing our villager to drop down to the bottom. Now, dispensers and water shooting systems are famously frustrating, so I really hope this works first time. What? What? Why is it only those bottom ones? There is no world in which this makes sense. Honestly, I think the observers got pushed back and forth so fast that they just didn't get a chance to actually power the redstone. So instead, I've swapped out our glass blocks for solid blocks, so hopefully they should power the blocks. So I currently have no water. Now I have all the water. That seems to be working. And then I have no water again. This is working. As I'm sure you can tell, I'm quite surprised by that because you have to activate all of the dispensers at once. And I came up with this weird system where I'm pushing observers down and things like that. But it works. So now I need to repeat that for all of the different spots that the villager is going to go into. It looks like an absolute nightmare down here, doesn't it? But that nightmare might just work. I mean, potentially. I'm scared to press this button right now. I really don't want to. I did and everything broke, but I'm hoping it should all be fixed. So as you can hear, there is absolutely zero villager noise. If I hit this button though, we have got ourselves some villagers. We have got some villagers. I can't trade with them yet because they don't have any workstations. But then if I hit this button again, we don't have any villagers. That is incredibly satisfying. These guys have survived. They're happy, I think, down there in their little water prisons. Oh my goodness, trying to assign jobs to this lot is a nightmare. This is really difficult. After quite a bit of frustration, the job now seems to be done and everything is working. So we have got ourselves a toggleable villager system that is probably one of the most fun things to use in the world. I mean, this is hilarious. We now also have a few furnaces and the first crafting bench I've placed in this entire build, which is a little bit embarrassing. I didn't want to build any industrial smelters or anything like that because I imagine a player this advanced would probably have some form of industrial district elsewhere. That's my excuse and I'm sticking with it. But in this final little module here, I thought it would be a good idea to build up a tiny little food farm that the player can use when they need a tiny bit of food in a pinch. Now, this is a very old school little design. So we've got a layer of dirt right here, which is where all of our potatoes are going to be going. Then we've got all of these dispensers, which are going to be filled with bone meal. And when I stand on a pressure plate at either end of the farm, all of the dirt should drop down. And that seems to be working quite nicely. Now, in terms of the actual look and design of this thing, I've tried my best to keep it in keeping with the rest of the bunker, and I think I've done a pretty decent job. Up at the top here, I've got storage for all of the bone meal, which is easily accessible from the front of the farm, which is always useful. And the stairs on this side match up with the stairs on this side as well. The only thing that I wasn't able to copy over was the pillars, but I think that looks kind of better that way. Not everything has to match 100%. In fact, if it does, sometimes things can start to look weird, said the non-builder. The final piece of the puzzle is the redstone clock, which is going to be activating our dispensers, which, oh man, I don't really have much space for, do I? But thankfully, I think I've managed to pull it all off. And that is working perfectly. So let's take it from the top. I'm using sheep to cover up the fact that I have a hidden staircase underneath these blocks. It's always a good way to explain away the random dirt patches that it creates. Now, the way that I gain access to my hidden bunker is I just place a redstone torch right here, and as you can see, our hidden staircase pops out. And that allows us to travel down into the verification room. Now, this is a very important and very secure part of the system. I have to subject my facial hair to testing. If I walk in, obviously I gain access because my mustache is glorious, and now I'm actually in my proper bunker. Off to the left, I've got my little storage system, except it's not actually that little because it's a rotating storage system. So I've got access to a very large number of barrels in a fairly small little window here. Up here we've got my bedroom, nothing too exciting, except of course we've got a clock there because yet there's no access to the sky, so with this I actually know when I can sleep. Then over in this area I've got a very important security feature. You see, villagers are incredibly loud, and if someone was walking above our bunker they'd be able to hear all of the noise, but with the press of a button I can take the villagers from down way underneath the ground and bring them up to the surface. Then once I'm done trading with all of the villagers, all I have to do is hit this button right here. They'll drop down underneath the ground, and not only will it be quiet for any intruders, but it'll also be quiet for me. Villagers are super annoying. Over here I've got some furnaces and some crafting benches and bits, and then in this area I've got my potato farm. So all I have to do is hold down the right click button, and then I walk over the pressure plates at the end, and that will harvest them. So this all works really quite nicely, except when you're in creative mode and you can eat the potatoes. So that right there is the interior of the bunker. Now, if I want to leave this place, obviously our hidden staircase closed up behind us when we subjected our mustache to testing. So to get out of this thing, all I have to do is hit this button right here. That will close up this vault behind us, and it will open up our hidden staircase once again so we can pop out onto the surface. Make sure that you don't leave your redstone torches behind, because then people are going to know that there's something fishy going on. So that is my dream hidden bunker. I hope you enjoyed. It was really fun to create, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya!